Okay. So we want to move on to, and so now you have this passion, and you're taking courses at Daystar. How did this passion affect your choice of masters that you are doing?
Yeah, so I think after I related with deaf children and I had worked with young adults for the longest, I thought maybe the best way to support young adults is when they are young, so that those things are less, rather than trying to, I think Swahili they say ukate mti zenye kwa mdogo or something like that. Yeah. So that's what I felt would be. So I would then study child development. So essentially that's why I said youth development, done it almost, I think maybe at that time 10 years. So I focused more on child development. So when I joined Daystar, I'm in class, then there's Reverend Yobera who is introducing me to the social spaces and all that. And then I think I was really curious to understand child development and relate it to the lived experiences I'd had with young adults. So sort of what the theory says versus what we see on the ground, are they the same? And if there's a gap, then what's the gap? I literally, that's how I studied my master's. Like maybe we learn theories of social emotional development, and then it says this and this, what have you, or we learn play therapy for children. Then I would want to know, how is this provided for deaf children, what have you, and all that. So it was 2017. That's when I met you. And then I think my first semester, I think we were doing theories, I can't remember which paper. And then in your quest to wanting to know me, to connect, because I was the one hiding, you asked me about my work, and then I shared with you a term paper that I had written. I think I remember the term paper. The term paper was on language deprivation. So in psychology, they sort of have like this booklet that outlines the kind of, what do you call them? I don't call them diseases.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's like a prescription book. If you see this, then this person has this. I'm forgetting the name. It's called DSM-5. I think now there's DSM-6. And that time they hadn't included that. But then there was a lot of research that already was showing that they needed to include language deprivation in the next volume. So that's what I shared with you, and then you read it, and then you were amazed. What really helped me is how interested you were. I was like, oh, you really want to know?
Yeah.
I remember.
And for me, some of what was informing that is that I already have been very curious about child development and the developmental stages, what develops at this age, what develops at that age, and so on, because Jane, my wife, is a teacher of the little ones. And it just intrigues me. I think some things about child development intrigue me more than herself. So when you talked about the development of language, I had never stopped to think at what point does the language develop, and how much of it develops between this age and that age. So when you're now saying that because this child is deaf, they are not being stimulated in a way that they will develop this aspect, and that especially when you made the point that the lapse in that development is irreversible after a certain age, that really caught me. So I was really interested.
So I think for me, since it was a new idea, something I was finding out, and then finding someone who is, I could feel you're genuinely interested in this topic, because you read it, I think you corrected it, I think you also sent it to Jane, then Jane gave you remarks, I'm like, it's just an assignment, And then at that time, Lugishara was not registered, it was just an idea. And then within the same space, there was another professor from Tangaza University who I had already known for some time, and he gave me, no, what happened? Because I think it wasn't registered, and then, because I registered in 2018 Feb, and then you had your office, because I remember coming to your office, and then you would leave the office and you'd give us your office to sit in, to have meetings.
Yeah.
So sort of like
Your headquarters.
You have an office.
Headquarters.
Yeah. So I think for me, when someone believes in your quote unquote silly and thought through paper idea that does not make sense, like what it's just an idea that you're trying to think through, put dots together. I think for me that was such a great foundation of, I don't know that would be coaching or mentorship, where I may not fully understand, but this is space, do your thing. What else do you need here? What have you? So giving us that space with my team, and I remember your office was really small. So
there's
no way we would sit if you.
I couldn't stay in while you guys were in, so I had to come out.
And you were only two, so so for me that humility of, it's okay, you guys, how long do you need? Use my office, what have you? And then I registered it. So I think the most difficult, sometimes they say the most difficult thing is to start something. Because you could have it in your head, and then now finally registered and started practically to translate what I was learning in class and taking it back to the children around them. We had deaf children. Oh, I've remembered another thing. There was a time you took me to Kibera. I don't remember that church, the name.
Yeah, it must have been what, Holy Trinity, Kibera. Was it a stone church or
I think it had a church and a school-ish and maybe a college. Because I was looking. I was now starting to look for children who are deaf, who are below 5. Then I'm like, where do I start? So I think you mentioned about Kibera and all that, So giving me those connections to those spaces so that then I can go test the idea. I think that was really, really helpful. And then remember, there's the ideation of this product, then there's the heart matters in tandem. So I think for me that was very special to have both, because I think it was very special because you can have a mentor who only teaches you this is a business model, but then they don't know whether you're crying or not, whether where your heart is. So where you took me to spaces of as a priest, because that was your full-time job then, and then introducing me to the DCF, Daystar Christian Fellowship. So actually that's where I found healing, just hanging out, then being given responsibilities. And like I said, I think for me what was really easy was not sitting down and setting goals. It's doing everyday things together about everything and nothing. So because I think that's what I needed because of the heart, the layers of grief I had mentioned, or losses around many things.
I guess that's effective because life is holistic. You can't put life in compartments. So where your emotional life was in turmoil, it will affect the other areas. So while we are seeking healing in your emotional life, you're still doing life. So, and where we are looking for where you're going academically and your passion for the deaf, it's also being affected by your emotional. So everything mixes in. So we just do life. And I think for me, maybe it's a cop out. It's an easy way of working with people that we just come, let's go. We'll talk on the way. Come, let's look for these people. We will find them in a place that I already work, even though they are not the people that I work with on an ongoing basis. So.
It's, as you speak, and I'm thinking, God is so strategic.
Not random.
Not random, because
that's your word. You're saying God is not random.
Because if I like the way you've separated the emotions, the everyday life, school, and then there was Lugeshara. So it's funny how at the point of intense pain, and Lugeshara was being birthed, like God didn't allow me to first heal, are you okay? Then no, he was, in fact I call it heal and deal and heal at the same time. Do your everydayness, wake up, study, do today. Like if you need to go to Kibera, if you need to write the proposal, if you need to research on whatever it is, go cry or go be happy, the emotional bit. So it's amazing. So I'm wondering, I'm just thinking right now, if I hadn't met you, maybe I'd met an ordinary coach who was not a priest, I don't think it would have been the same. Yeah, so God wanted, aki God manze, yani June hivi toka job, August anza kazi ingine, hakuna time yako ati you're taking a break, ati going for therapy and all those things. So it's therapy, work, life, boyfriend, everything together. And that's how God wanted it. Yeah. So it's really interesting. I think then I was really blessed to have you as the foundation in which like it's like umechapwa na life, then you learned some it just
because life is holistic and it's all it's all, there's all so many overlaps in everything. The psychologist will tell you that that when you're struggling with something, you're seeing yourself weak in something. If you can remember something that you're strong at, that you can master at that time, it helps you pull back, because life is holistic. It's never in segments.
And life doesn't wait for you. I think so.
No, it doesn't wait. It doesn't wait. It doesn't wait. Heal emotionally first before you go to class. No, just be healing as you're going to class, and be going to class while you're healing, you know.
And that's what really happened. There's no separation. And I think it's a journey. So maybe, I don't know, maybe if there are like 10 issues, or maybe there are 10 wounds. So this one heals, you know. So it's a process. It's a process rather than let the 10 wounds heal, then I go back to the world. It's heal this, do this, heal this. It's
all together. So so then it's developing. I remember once there's a time we went and sat, where were we? We went and sat at the the Total there that had an eating place, and you had this big paper.
I still have it. It was a vision board,
a vision board.
I still have it.
Which was intriguing for me. At what point are you at in terms of saying, this is my true vision, in terms of this is my purpose in life, or are we just still doing a class project, or are we just doing a project for the sake of project? Where are we at with that in your journey, when you're laying out the vision board?
Do you mean previously or moving forward?
Moving forward. So I'm trying to figure out at what point do you now see this as, this is going to be my concentration for now. This is my vision, or even this is my purpose in this season. Is it already figured out in your mind that this is your purpose before the vision board comes out? Or is the vision board before you confirm that was it part of the process? Because you're a visual person.
I'm a visual learner. So I journal a lot and I draw things. I'm not an artist, I just draw things, even if they're sticks representing a person. So it must have been, I knew what the problem was. The problem was language deprivation, deaf children. We were doing clubs in schools at that time, before Lubeshara was registered. We thought if we accessed ECDs, that would be the way. Then we realized ECDs had children who are over 5 years old because of language delays. And then I remember that time the Ministry of Education issued an order, schools are not accessible anymore. That's when access to schools by anybody, I think it was Matiang'i. So then we had to rethink. So I think for me at that time now I was rethinking, how do we access children? So I must have had other vision boards, but the one I showed you must have been a big book like this, you open like this. It was either, I don't know, So I wrote it to put everything together and also to project what I think it would be. At that time we're thinking of animations, TV programs. So it was really helpful to be able to put it together, and then when you put it together you can take off. I still believe in vision boards even today. Now I have a vision board for Lubeshara for the next 20 years. for me, they're a really powerful representation of the future that I see.
Yeah.
So that then, when the end goal is clear, then it's easy. Is it easy? Let me say it's better to stick to it.
Yeah.
But let me say something. Those days, I really didn't fully know how Lugeshara would be. I was working with everydayness, one day at a time, 1 week at a time. I didn't know that Lugeshara would be what it is today. I just knew it would provide language.
Yeah.
And this is how it would provide. But I didn't see families. I didn't see where we are. I didn't see partnerships and all those things. And then, now when I look back, I think if God had told me what the journey would be, maybe I would have gone back to work.
Yeah.
So he only let me know day one,
Enough.
week 1, month 1. He never gave me, that's the end. And then things started making sense. I think in 2021, that's when I would look back and be like, oh my goodness, this is what God wanted. After 5 years, that's when I was like, I see the impact, so we were just testing different things. But now God has told me in advance the future. So I think God is very interesting. I think he also wants to teach us to trust him.
Yeah.
And he also wants us to earn, like, okay, let me say this with no fear of contradiction. Now I can say it. I completed 7 years of full-time working in July 2024, last year. Like full-time, every day, grind. Sometimes no results, sometimes no money. In fact, I used to think we don't have results. Like, what are you doing again? So, until we were approached by an external firm that said, we want to evaluate your results externally. And we won't involve you, just give us the contract. So it was a pure external evaluation. And the evaluation was amazing. I was like, really? Imposter syndrome checks in, And it was such a good evaluation. Of course, there were things that we needed to improve because we are a young organization. And then, what was I saying? Yeah, so for me, it was 7 years. 7 means completion. And when the 7th year ended, the day it ended, on the exact day the 7 years tenure ended, God saw it fit for me to be nominated as one of the top 40 under 40 in Kenya. And it only hit me later. I think I was either washing something, then God told me, you did well. Like, you were faithful.
Yeah.
The 7 years, like I didn't do anything else. I was just in Lugeshara.
Full
time. Yeah. Another time we'll discuss the challenges and all that and the good things. And I really struggled with that because sometimes when I look at where Lugeshara needs to be versus where we are, I feel like, I wish we were somewhere else. Then God told me, you did well, and that's why I brought this to you. Like, tapped me on his shoulder, and I accepted. But usually, I struggle with receiving compliments. So that's what I'm saying. Now God showed me the end.
Yeah.
That's why we have a 20-year legacy, unlike before. So I think before it was like, this lady, if I tell her she'll stay for whatever time without a salary, she'll go get a big job and forget about the purpose that I've called her. So I think sometimes God has to allow us to go through something, sort of earn his, respect? Does that make sense? Like earn his, like God has to be sure we would be faithful.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I was always right. I made my messes, but by and large, I just walked with God. I from the day you prayed for me, I think for me that's when my new life really started. I've always been a Christian, but do you really, really trust God? So I think for me that's when I really surrendered. Ukweli si ile ya Christianese, I have plan B. Not because you're evil, it's just that, if you have money, what do you mean? If you have money, so you'll pay rent. But then when you don't have money, you have to trust God, So I think for me, I've seen God heal me from the day I met, because that's the day I rededicated my life now. Like I'd set the foundation of having a priest as a coach who's in leadership, who's interested in the products you're working on, becomes your friend, friends to your family. So now when I look back, I'm thinking, yeah, God is not right now.
God
Like
is
you
not
played
right.
you played
God
such
is not
a
right.
critical role. I wonder how. Anyway, yeah.
But we thank God. I mean, of course, I've gained from it also because I've had a lot to learn, and because we've walked this journey with others also. Others have also learned from you. I remember very strongly you being a facilitator for DCF when we were training new leaders coming into the fellowship, and you using some of what you've learned over the years and contributing to that. So it wasn't one-way street. You were helping me, you were helping us, you were helping others get on with their roles also. Like we earlier said, there's so much overlapping that while you're working on your things, the fact that you're working on them is also helping other people as they watch you work on them. Interesting. So how do you? It's one of the leadership things that we talk about when we say a leader must hold some of these things lightly. When you talk about a 20-year plan and you have almost like a goal, there are some of our mentors in leadership that say they don't believe in goals in that particular way. They believe in vision, and the vision is always greater than you. And so the vision is directional, where a goal has a very definite like stop point. But as leaders, we point in one direction, knowing that even whatever we decide today, tomorrow might change. And that's what you're saying you experienced in that first season. But even in your next 20 years, as you say, you have this trajectory for Lugeshara for 20 years. Things will change along the way, and a leader has to be the first one to admit that yes, we're pointing this way, but the wind has changed and we need to quickly change with it. When we stubbornly hold on to some goals that we've put in place firm and fast, then sometimes we lose it. So can you say that this is your purpose in life then? Does Lugeshara define your purpose in life?
Maybe Lugeshara is a channel
Yeah.
of fulfilling my purpose.
Yeah. So how would you summarize your purpose?
My purpose is I am a spark that ignites people for social justice.
Okay.
I get like some things really, like I get irritable. I may not sleep over an issue. Like there was a time something happened to someone who I was not necessarily very well. Okay, maybe I was known to them, and then it happened in a system that I was aware of. I knew some things. Then I felt it was unfair to them. Like it was really none of my business. I couldn't sleep for 2 nights. So I checked through the CEO, the MD of whatever company. I wrote to them and asked them, "Are you aware on LinkedIn?" Yeah, it was on news. Are you aware so and so? So I wrote an email, and then I asked them, in your mandate you say blah blah blah. Isn't this what you're supposed to do for this person? Because it was a global movement, and it was a Kenya national who was going through something. It was on news, and I was like, this is the time for them to defend their person. What's wrong with them? Then I wrote to the global. Then I wrote to one of the core partners. One of them responded, and they actually did something. And I told them, please don't. And I said to them, don't think the person has sent me. They haven't. And I'm sure that person up to date doesn't know. Like for me, social justice just irritates me, especially when someone can do something about it. So I think that's my purpose. And I think increasingly now, I also believe purpose can morph, evolve. One of the other things nowadays I have a burden for leaders. or founders. Yeah, I just really think leadership is a really tough thing. It means death to self, and it's not an easy thing, especially because of the last 7 years. Before, I was receiving from leaders. I was never in a place where everyone was looking up to me. So it's easy to pinpoint, hey, CEO and I don't know. It's easy. But then when you're on this other side, it's harder, you know. So that's one of the things that I started having a burden for founders, leaders, or even just for people to know their purpose so that they can live it. So when I see someone who is gifted in a certain way, but they don't see it, or they're not doing something about it, you do something about it. You know, it's not gonna be easy. But then once you do it, there's just a pleasure you receive, and now I call it the pleasure of God. You know, like God is good, God is a father, God is kind, but then also God is pleasurable, because there's a verse that says He does things to the pleasure of His will. You know.
And we're created for His good pleasure.
So I those are the two things that now I'm oscillating. Social justice is still a big thing for me, and nowadays when leaders, founders, now I don't point fingers to leaders. I stopped. First I defend the leader publicly, then now privately. What is wrong with you? Can you tell me what it is? So I've also been able to create spaces now. I think we've had 3 events. We call it the first time founders, where founders just come and just find a safe space to talk, to cry, to eat, to laugh. And I think that's what you provided for me one-to-one. And before I started it one-to-one, then I felt overwhelmed, like I don't think I have the grace. I think I have the grace to provide a space. Then people come in, feeding into that.
But that one you can sort of see where that emerged from, because you yourself were going through this founders, this whether we call it loneliness or whatever. When
let's talk about that.
When one is founding something that you're so committed to it, especially as it starts to grow, you have to include other people to do certain jobs, and then they are not as committed to the jobs because they are not as focused as you are, they're not as called as you are, they're not as passionate as you are. So then you see that gap for fellow founders. So we can see where that particular one is coming from.
Yeah, it's true. I wouldn't have had that if I hadn't gone through it.
So that's almost like an extra. Like you say, they do morph. Purpose will morph, or you'll have multiple purpose. I think the big thing that you've already alluded to is that when we stumble on a God-given purpose, we realize that it is there to serve people and not to serve ourselves. And therefore it's a selfless and sometimes becomes a thankless process. And that is what you are experiencing, and therefore now want to give other founders a forum to express themselves and to find what watershed kind of a well.
Miles Monroe has a quote. He says, there's no mango tree a mango tree does not eat its own fruit. So basically there's no mango tree with a functional mouth, like gulp mangoes.
Mangoes.
And the taste of mangoes does not even taste nice to a mango tree, because a mango needs soil, oxygen, carbon dioxide. So for me, that illustration really liberates me, to know that I'm a mango tree, I'm producing fruits, birds will come part, someone will sit under the shade, someone might cut, oops, they need to go create, and then what I produce, I don't need to consume it. And what I consume, those who consume may not necessarily need it. So I think for me, that's what purpose is. Just like Jesus hung on the cross, he did not need to die. He didn't have sins, So it's really about others. And I think once that realization comes, then it's easy to have those conversations with God when you're frustrated and all those. Like, God, where is my oxygen? Where is the wind? Then he says, no, let me cut this. So that, there can be more branches and all that. So that always helps me in terms of thinking about my purpose, and when I get frustrated or when I think you guys should say thank you or be grateful, you think back to redirection. You know, like you give, the Lord is one who replenishes you. You know, the oxygen, is it the oxygen, carbon dioxide, whatever trees, they take carbon dioxide and they produce oxygen. You know, like really funny.
But also it's different times. In the dark it's different, and in the light it's different. I always mix them up.
So I think it's a really good analogy, and even in the team I usually just remind them, as you work, don't think about yourself, think about whom you're serving, you know. And the Lord is the one who will refresh you and heal you and provide for you. And I have seen God do that for me. Like, I've seen God refresh me His own way, like in very small ways. Like there was a time, a friend of mine, the mom, decided to take me out for lunch.
Oh wow!
I actually think you know her, Sheila. She just said, I'm thinking about Nancy. Send her this money. Tell her to go for lunch. Tell her to get her hair and nails done. I'm like, huh? You know, like I didn't tell her. I didn't ask her. But in her own kindness and in God's balancing skills. So I went to a very nice, expensive salon, had my hair done, relaxed, and she actually sent twice.
Wow.
Like I have so many pockets of how God brings His own provision.
And you see, so I was actually going to say that when He gives us a purpose, He gives us a purpose to serve, and then He's the one who replenishes. But sometimes He uses people to replenish, and that is because He's given someone else the purpose to serve you, as He's given you the purpose to serve them. And so in God's economy of things, if we were all doing our part, none of us would be poor, none of us would be downtrodden, and so on. So it's that people neglect what the purpose is for them. Now, to close this particular one, we'll do another one some other time. Two things that I want you to tell us of where you have felt like you needed to be more than you are to function in what you consider your purpose. So purpose is here, you're here. You know what it is you want to function, but there's something holding you back, saying, I am not yet who I truly have to be to actually actualize that purpose. What would that be that you still need, if there's been such a time? And then the last one, I just want you to describe perhaps what your hardest just singular experience has been, whether it's through the founding of it or the running of Lugha Ishara, your lowest moments.
Okay. So, the first question, are you asking me about the future or in retrospect?
It could be in the future. It could be that you're seeing what Lugha Ishara needs in the future, and you're not skilled to do it, and therefore you need to fill in that gap at some point.
So, Lugha Ishara will turn 7 this month, 7 years. We've done some things incredibly well. One of the greatest things we've done is intense user development. What that is, you've spent almost, I think, 5+ years engaging directly with the users. These are the children, dads and moms, the ecosystem around the work we do. Whenever I read something and I wouldn't find anything necessarily new, it could either be a revision of the same or what have you. So what I would say is that we not fully, to a great extent, understand the context in which we work and the root causes, the systemic barriers and all that. And so in doing that, it means the products we create actually will address the root issues. So then sort of solve. This is solve in some language, solve the issues. Sometimes innovators or founders can do a lot of desktop review, or one-sided, what have you, and then now go launch, and then later an innovation flops. And there are many examples. So they usually say product market fit and all that, yeah. Or you receive a lot of money, that money kills you because you don't know where to take it, yeah. So at some point I used to wonder, when will we be like those ones? And then through retrospection, like, I'm glad we've done our foundational work very well. Yeah. So that's one of the things we've done very well. And so the next step for Lugeshara is now to strengthen. So we have an end-to-end product, and we've benchmarked it globally as well. And when I mean globally, in Africa, there are very few models like us. Actually, in South Africa, and I think a bit of Egypt now. There's new evidence and all that, but the contexts are different. Yeah. So in essence, we know what we are doing. So now the next thing for Lugeshara is to scale, strengthen, and scale. Yeah. And then you see it's replicating the same model in different contexts. You know, if you take it to Turkana, or if you take it to maybe Ethiopia, there'll be a different context, you know. But the foundational root causes are the same. Self-stigma is the same, you know, what have you. Anyway, so
keep talking. I'll cut it into that when we are editing. I'll just put this on.
Yes.
Continue to.
So I feel, as a founder, my greatest role was the foundational years.
Yeah.
To get this thing going.
Yeah.
Or not get this thing going, really get into the depth of it. You know, it's like when they say the deeper the foundation, the higher the story building. Yeah. So now we want to go higher. And so that's where I would need help, especially operationally. My strength is product development, but then when we have a lot of detailed system structure, I can do it, but it's not my thing. So we are setting up we're calling it a technical advisory board. It's not your regular advisory. Technical meaning we need this technical expertise, maybe in legal, maybe in HR, maybe in product development, maybe in governance, whatever it is. So that person will come in to deliver the work, not advice. So they also bring on board a team. So it's like a birthing board. So the baby is here, anazaliwa wapi, anaishi wapi, which room is the water, you know, all those things. So that's where we are. So that's where I need help, or Lugeshara needs help. So so that's part of the plan, and we believe in 2025 the baby will be out, and then now we'll continue now strengthening, and we are ready for East Africa, and we are ready for Africa in the next 7 years. Yes.
Your most
the hardest thing is to be heard and understood. It's been the hardest thing. What I mean is, oh my goodness, like, do you get what I mean? Oh, yeah, you know. Oh yeah, did you mean? Oh, like, manze? No one gets me. Okay, not
on what areas?
Not on they don't get me.
Yeah.
There's me. I'm seeing a green apple with shiny stars. Then you're seeing a green apple. Where are the stars? Oh, I can't. So I think there's an aspect of. I think for me that's the hardest thing. Like, I wish people would hear and understand me, and then would walk at the same speed or execute at the same speed. But now I'm okay with it. Before it used to be a thorn in the flesh.
Let me ask: Is that with the core business of Lugeshara, or is that what is it that people are not understanding? Because if you say understand me, it's the you, it's a personality. But you're saying what aren't they understanding? Is it that you're articulating something they're not getting, or is it that this vision is too difficult for them to understand, or too removed? for their experiences or what?
I think, now let me speak in hindsight, because you asked me what was the hardest. It is in past tense.
Yeah.
I think as a founder or as a visionary, there's what you see. There's what God has told you. It's clear for you. But when you explain to someone, I think they call it this big elephant thing. Everyone just sees the part they are all on.
Yeah.
But you see the big elephant. Then your desire is that someone sees the elephant, then you're like, yes, then let's do this. They don't see them here.
Yeah.
So you're frustrated because they don't see what you see. But then now in hindsight, God told me they will never, because it's a you and me business. So you'll be happy with what they see. So God reminded me of what would I say? Moses. You know, when Moses, his father-in-law came, then told him, your role is to take
Jethro.
Jethro, take the courses to God, teach them their ways, teach them the law, and then teach them how they should behave. I'm forgetting. No, be a priest, present the issues to God.
To God, yeah.
And then there are actually 4. Then there is teach them the law, and then or show them how to do it, and then show them how to behave. So, and then Jethro came and told him, please gawanyisha kazi, wafanye vitu ndogo ndogo. So Moses hakuondolewa ile kazi yake zile 4. Ni tu alidelegate the small cases. So and then the last verse it says, then you'll be able to bear this burden, and then people will be satisfied. Yeah. So I think every vision bearer has this burden, and even if they divide it, those people will do whatever they need to do, but the vision, the burden, because it's your purpose, it's for you and God. So I was seeking to be heard and understood by even my dad, and he didn't mean to harm me, but he's like him. He has his own world view. No. You should have my. That's not what I mean. So it was really hard for me. Then now when God started teaching me, I wanted you to do rounds. You're back. Is it Rev? Your better will give you the vision. Is it your dad? Is it your co-founders? Is it the staff members? Yeah. So that was the hardest thing, and that's why I created the space.
Yeah.
So that people can come and talk. But in as much as I talk, I know that God is the one who will fulfill the need for them to be heard or understood or aligned. Yeah. It's like how I describe it. Sometimes I even physically feel it. Like it's like there's this verse that says streams of water in your belly. What's that verse? Yeah. Like it's the same thing for me when I have a burden. I feel it. I want to give it to you. Yeah. But you're not receiving. You're like, what's and you're not feeling the same way. Like me, I feel sad sometimes. Maybe it's a task. And I'm like, if you don't do it, the child misses opportunity. And this child's brain is 3 years old. Yours is already. So it takes 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You can't. Yeah. So what I would do is I'll do it myself. Yeah. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But then with growth, I can't do it myself.
You can't do everything yourself.
So that's actually one of my prayer items. That God will bring. Thinking of Solomon when he was rebuilding the temple, people were sent to do specific things. And in another verse it says, and they did all the Lord has commanded. Me, I'm just praying. Whoever is brought to Lugeshara, they'll be told, Weshkilia Mkia, the elephant, and do as the Lord. You do all, not halfway. If we do that, then I believe, because I believe that stirring is from God. Like there's a sense of urgency. It needs to be done now. So when that person does, then we will all be aligned, and then we will be fulfilling God's perfect pleasing way.
Let me ask you with that, as it's just a development of the same thought there. But when no, first of all, let me ask you this way: amongst the people that you've worked with, and amongst the people that you've sort of introduced this vision to. For me, the sharp edge of the vision being, there's a child here, they're born deaf. If they're neglected for 5 years, there is an irreversible deprivation in terms of the issue of language. Okay, that being the sharp end of the vision. How many people that you've talked to, or how many people that you work with, or how many people that you've brought into Lugeshara come up to 70% of that understanding,
God.
and therefore